Jack Avina arrived on the Bluff in 1970 after a very successful tenure as head coach at San Mateo Junior College. Taking over a struggling Pilot men's basketball program, he came with a discipline, pursuit of excellence, and doing what was right for others acquired at every step of his personal and professional life. As a player and coach, he always emphasized how hard work, diligence, and teamwork would make us all better people both on and off the court. In his 17 years at the university, his Pilot teams, which featured a gritty determination and the likes of Portland Athletic Hall of Fame inductees Leonard Williams, Darwin Cook, Rick Rivio, and Jose Slaughter, registered indelible memories for Pilot followers, making a habit of knocking off prominent nationally ranked opponents, such as Ralph Miller's Oregon State Beavers of 1979 and in 1981 over the San Francisco Dons, led by Bill Cartwright. Portland's success under Jack and the respect he commanded directly inspired the university joining the West Coast Athletic Conference, now the West Coast Conference, in 1976 in the building of the Child Center, which opened in 1984. In a testament to his lasting impact on the University of Portland community, Jack was presented upon his departure from the university with an award from the Portland faculty that read, "We wish to recognize you for your dedication to the highest standards of integrity and honesty in college athletics. Your commitment to the athletic and academic excellence of your student-athletes is deeply appreciated by us." Jack's impact on basketball was worldwide as he worked in collaboration with the U.S. government's Partners in America program, training coaches in Latin America. Twice he coached the Japanese Olympic team, and in 1984, Bob Knight asked Jack's assistance in evaluating players for the selection of the U.S. Olympic team. He also coached the U.S. team in the World University Games, as well as professional teams in Turkey and Brazil. Jack, who was the first Latino coach elected to the executive board of the National Association of Basketball Coaches, is the longest tenured men's basketball coach in university history at 17 years, and is the winningest with 223 victories.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Jack, who passed away in October 2018, are two UP alumni. Milt Adams, a member of Jack's first UP team, and Joel Avina, Jack's son, and a member of his coaching staff here on the Bluff. We ask Milt and Joel to come forward at this time.
Welcome, guys. This is long overdue, so we're really excited to have you here and to honor Jack. And so many of his former players are here, a testament to the impact he had here on the Bluff. Just some background on Joel and Milt. Joel was a ball boy when Jack first started. He was a player here. He was a GA. He was a coach. So he was there, saw how the sausage was made, and a big part of the success that was there. Milt stayed on the team. He was one of the first players that Jack coached here. He stuck through some hard times. He was the 3-time Student Athlete of the Year for the University of Portland, and you know, one of the greatest we've ever had. So it's an honor to have these two up here. And Joel, we'll start with you. Tell us what it was about Jack that he was able to kind of start from a humble beginning here on the Bluff and turn the program into what it was.
Well, Jack was an easygoing guy. He was easy. He was easy to play for, and he just kind of trusted his players. No, in reality, Jack was a pretty tough taskmaster. He believed there was a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things, and he wasn't going to tolerate not doing it the right way. So, from the beginning, he made it apparent that if you wanted to be part of this program, we were going to do it the right way.
And talk about that era. There were so many good teams, and it was a different era of college basketball. What were some of the challenges that he was able to overcome and maybe paint the picture of joining the WCAC and playing some Pac-12 opponents with where the program was at the time?
Well, when he started here, University of Portland was a program that everybody wanted to play. And they were an independent, and they had the toughest schedule you can imagine. I went back today and I looked at some of the schedules that they had before Jack got here and during that first 5 years. And they'd go on 5-7 game road trips against teams that would just, you know, they beat them quite easily. And by the time he was finished, we couldn't get teams to come to Portland to play us. So it took a long time. It took doing things the right way. And it took guys like Milton Adams, Gary Strawn, Kenny Hetrick, Stretch, Those guys started it all for us. And then once they built that runway, we took off.
And Milt, what was it like when Jack took over? I know you were one of the first players that probably met him. What was it like in those early days, and what was your impression when he came to coach?
Just like Joel said, he was a straightforward person. His job that he had accepted was to, and that's in any coach, each year to bring in players that's better than that's there, that you're going to keep your program going. And one thing I remember that's always stuck with me was that Jack's motto was that basketball was merely a vehicle for success.
And what impact, I mean, talking to so many former players that played for him, just the lasting impact he had, what was that? What was it about him that made you all not just better basketball players, but better people?
Yeah. I did not want to step out of bounds or things like that, but I was thinking about an old adage. It went like, it was an older man. He reached in his pocket, he pulls out his hand, and he says, tells the younger man, he says, "What is this in my hand?" And he says, "A seed." He says, "Yeah, a seed, but what kind of seed do you think it is?" Peach seed, an apple. It's an apple seed. He says, "But I'll tell you what, you put this seed in the ground and let it nurtures, and then it has other apples. But each one of those apples that has seed, and said, pretty soon you have an orchard." That's what I know about Jack Avina. A lot of times I'm up here, and it's hard to speak. If I could just beg your pardon, that I cannot alone myself, because each one of these men have a story. I would just like the former players to stand up. That was Jack's, just like his family. I know he was a family man, but he was creating orchards. These young men that I keep in contact with them and everything, they've done really well. There's lawyers, there's doctors, whatever it is. But in their same situation, I think the one thing they got out of Jack is that there's always a seed of opportunity. And I think they've done a great job of whatever they do, and I can see throughout the days that their orchard is growing.
Great, thank you, Milt. Joel, so many stories. Do you have any that really stick out and memorable ones?
Well, if we're talking about games, there's quite a few. If we're talking about funny stories, there's a few of those too, and then some that we thought were funny that he didn't think were funny. And I don't think I want to go into those because it didn't turn out well for those of us that thought it was funny. But I would say that, as the program grew, when he came in, the program was in a tough shape. They had lost their coach the year before. He had passed away. And so they were in disarray. And Jack came in, and his peers down in California thought he was crazy for leaving a successful situation that he had. But he wanted the challenge. And I think as I look at some of the things that they did, I think the first big win for them was beating Seattle U his first year. And they won 5 games. They won twice as many games as they had in the past. And then the next year they won 10. And Milt's group, and Gary and Kenny and Stretch, they won 15, and they just set the foundation and built a runway for the next group that came in, which was Darwin Cook and Donald Dixon and Leonard Williams and Rick Ravio and Jeff Heller and Ken Downey and some of the other guys. And we joined the WCAC. And those teams rode the backs of Milton's teams. And we were able to beat Ralph Miller's highly ranked team in the Coliseum. And we did it in spite of the fact that we had 4 home courts. So we had Howard Hall, but they condemned it. So then we played at Lewis and Clark College, and then we played at Hudson's Bay High School, and then we sometimes got to play at the Coliseum, which is where we played Ralph. And in spite of all that, we overcame things. So as I look at my notes, there was one win that I think changed everything for us, and that we played South Carolina, who was from the Southeastern Conference, in the Cable Cars Classic, and they were highly regarded. And Jack had decided we were going to run these guys out of the gym, and we're going to have Ken Downey, who's 6'6", guard their 6'11" center, and we're going to do all these things. And we did it, and we beat them. And that's when this program went from we think we can win to we knew we were going to win.
That's great. I think you mentioned the 4 gyms. I think it should be noted the reason we have the Child Center is because of guys like Milt and what Jack built. And, it's a building that's really important to all of us. It's the home of our athletic department, so that should definitely be acknowledged. That was a tough situation. Any final thoughts, acknowledgments that you guys want to give on behalf of Jack?
Well, I'd just like to say personally, I kind of woke up last night. A lot of times you get older, I'm 72 now, but you get older, you think you've done a lot of things. Then when you wake up and you think about it, you really haven't done anything. There's always been somebody there that has led the way. 1972, I was drafted by the Virginia Squires. And Jack said, yeah, when you can go there, it's going to be tough. I remember there was Julius Ervin, George Gervin, Fatty Taylor, George. So I go there, and of course, they were good. So, but I mean, I don't make the team. I went home to New Mexico, and that was a dead end for me. But a phone call came through. And he says, well, how are things going? He said, well, how's the deal? And he just started laughing. I said, well, yeah, they're good. And he says, I tell you what, get you a ticket up here. I've been having an idea to start a graduate assistant program. We don't have any money, but I can give you room and board. And from that time on, I came up. I was a graduate assistant. I finished up. And I remember I had a dean that kept giving me high school courses. I go, what do you give me those for? He said, they're only, to help your deal. They're good. And then all of a sudden, a coaching job opened up. And if it had not been for that lonely day that I was walking the streets, and I got a call. I went from my mother and said, Coach Avina is here. And over the 40 years, I was able to have my wife, my 5 grandchildren. It's been a blessing. And I'll never forget, because it was something that it gave me that I may have never saw.
I think if Jack were here, he would want to say thank you to the university. He'd want to say thank you to this table right here, Dr. Duff, Dr. Stemler, Dr. Seal, Father Berg, Dr. Masson. These folks were integral in our guys' success academically, and they cared. And we knew it, and our guys knew it. He'd also want to say thank you to his assistant coaches. Gary Strawn brought in Darwin and Reggie and some of those guys, and Rick Jackson, who brought in a whole group of guys that led to the success that we had. And in closing, I would just say that we were going through my father's office, and there were plaques from the Olympic team and pictures of ex-players, but he had 2 things that he set aside. One was this basketball, and this ball was given to him by a group of 8th graders and a special 5th grader. And they all signed the ball, and the ball says, "Thanks, Coach." This is the last group of kids that he ever coached, and he kept this ball. And two of the kids on that team were mine. But one of those kids was a very special young man who my father really thought the world of and thought was going to be a tremendous athlete. And I want to make sure I'm able to give this ball to his parents, and they're here tonight. The other thing he left his watch with a note, and he said, "Please give this to Milt Adams." And so Milt, this is my father's watch. Now, we all know Jack wasn't a fashion plate, so Milton, you well know it's not a Rolex.
Guys, thank you so much for the memories. On behalf of the University of Portland Hall of Fame, it's our honor to officially induct Jack Avina into the UP Hall of Fame.